Auspicious greeting. Welcome back to the core teaching class. Last class, we talked about the threefold training, which are the training in discipline, training in concentration, and training in wisdom. The Buddha told us that we need to practice the training of discipline, which is mindfully changing our unwholesome habit and upholding the precept, so that we're free from remorse and have joy. This is essential for our training and concentration, which in turn would provide the basis for wisdom to arise, to see things as they really are in their true realities. Through seeing the true nature of all things, we will not cling to them, so we're actually emancipate from them. This leads to the ending of sufferings. And this is, of course, the process of taming this mind from ignorance to having wisdom. Meditation is a very good tool in training and taming this mind. This is why meditation is a very important Buddhist practice. It is the tool for our training of concentration. In the Great Discourse on the Establishment of Mindfulness, which is also called the Satipatthana Sutras, the Buddha taught us four establishment of mindfulness, or it is also called the four foundation of mindfulness, or sometimes you may see the translation of four bases of mindfulness. And there are four methods of meditation. And this is what the Buddha said. Monks, this is the one-way path for the purification of beings, for the complete transcendence of sorrow and lamentations, for the disappearance of pain and depressions, for the attainment of the way, for the realization of nibbana. That is the four establishment of mindfulness. What for? Monks. Monks abide observing the body as the body, dedicated, completely aware and mindful, without covetousness or depressions about the world. One abides observing feelings as feelings, the mind as the mind, phenomena as phenomena, dedicated, completely aware and mindful, without covetousness or depression about the world. From the sutras, we can see that the four foundation of mindfulness is a very important practice, as the Buddha started off the sutras with declaring that it is the one-way path for the purification of beings and for the realization of nirvana. The Buddha told us that this practice is the path that will help us overcome afflictions and sufferings and ultimately attain enlightenment. The essence of the practice is to cultivate mindfulness associated with the supreme wisdom that realizes the true nature of all phenomena. It then begs the questions of what is the four foundation of mindfulness? It is the practice of mindfulness focusing on four objects, which are the mindfulness of body, mindfulness of feelings, the mindfulness of the mind, and mindfulness of phenomena, which translated from Dharma. Before we talk more about the four foundation of mindfulness and how we practice it, we need to first understand what is the practice of mindfulness. Mindfulness is translated from the Pali word sati. In one of the sutras, the Buddha said, "And what is the faculties of satis? There is the case where amongst a disciple of the noble ones is mindful, highly meticulous, remembering and able to recall to mind even things that were done and said long ago." Mindfulness means the abilities to remember. It keeps the object of our attentions and the purpose of our attentions in mind. In its most basic sense, it simply means to be watchful. This is sort of like watching the door of the mind very closely. We're always mindful to lock our door so that nothing harmful would come to our mind. We're watchful in closing and opening the door. If the door is closed when a guest rings the bell, we can hear it and we'll be alert of it. However, if the door is open when the guest arrives, we'll get surprise visit. This is like if our mind is not mindful, we might get lots of surprise visit by negative emotions. However, if we're mindful about closing our door, we know when our negative emotions rings the doorbell. And this way, we can recognize our guests, let them in, talk to them about what they want to talk to us about, then open the door and let them go. There are two other qualities that are needed to establish mindfulness, which are alertness and ardency. Alertness, translated from the Pali's word sampajana, is the quality of being aware of the present and comprehending the present. In another word, aware of what you're doing in the present moment, or aware of what's present in your mind in the current moment. And ardency means being intent on what you're doing and trying your best to do it skillfully. It's about continuously developing skillful habit and abandoning unskillful one. In another word, practicing right effort, like from the Noble Eightfold Path, in our daily life. Mindfulness, alertness, and ardencies make up what the Buddha called appropriate attention. The Buddha taught us that the way we attend to things is determined by what we see as important, like the problem we want the practice to solve. Mindfulness is what keeps the perspective of appropriate attentions in mind. One important thing to remember about mindfulness is that it is non-judgmental, impartial observing, non-conceptual watchfulness, present moment awareness, noticing every subtle change, and non-egotistic alertness. It will remind us of what we're supposed to do, to see things as they really are without coloring it with our concept, adding anything to it, or subtracting anything from it, and to realize the true nature of all phenomena. For the four foundations of mindfulness, we are keeping our appropriate attentions to our body, feelings, the mind, and all phenomena. We're simply seeing them, being there, going through the experience of our body, feeling, mind, and phenomena. Through the mindfulness practice, we will learn to see these four objects in their most basic fundamental state. A question we might then have is, why are these four objects like the body, feelings, mind, and phenomena chosen as the object of focus? Like, why are they important? If we look at these four objects, there is something that we relate to and cling to very dearly. And that's because of our wrong view in regard to them. It is because of our clinging to them that suffering is created. If we examine the body, feelings, and the mind, we tend to cling to them as the self. We regard the body as self, regard our feelings and our mind as this truly existent self. As there's the self, of course, there's others, which is where the rest of the phenomena come in. We cling to these phenomena because of our deluded view about them. Does that sound familiar? If we really examine the body, feeling, mind, and phenomena, we would recognize that they are related to the five aggregate, which are form, feeling, perception, volitions, and consciousness. The Buddha said that practicing the mindfulness of body can help us abandon the attachment to form, and practicing the mindfulness of feelings would help us let go of our attachment to our feelings. Practicing the mindfulness of the mind would help us let go of our attachment to consciousness. And practicing the mindfulness of phenomena can help us let go of our attachment to our perceptions and volitions. In another word, practicing the four foundations of mindfulness can help us realize the true nature of the self, or the so-called self, thus help us learn to let go of our clinging to the self, because it is not like a one whole, truly existent self. The last reason for practicing the four foundation of mindfulness, or choosing these four objects, is because the Buddha said that practicing the four foundation of mindfulness can help us eliminate the four distorted views. So what are the distorted views that people have, or all of us have? Is first the distorted views of permanence. So what this means is that we take what is impermanence to be permanent. Like all phenomena are changing all the time, but we tend to believe that they would always be there, like they're permanent. And the second distorted view is the distorted view of enjoyment. We take what should be perceived as sufferings to be enjoyment. A lot of people seek power, fame, wealth, sensual pleasures. They enjoy happiness for a short time from them, of course, yet they don't realize that these things also give rise to afflictions and defilement. And the third distorted view is the distorted view of purity, which is we see the impure as pure. An example would be for the fish, chicken, and animal, they have the stench and odor from them, and of course, they're impure. Yet, people crave and consider them delicacies. And the fourth distorted view of self is we perceive what is not a self to be a self. We believe that there is this I and me, yet in realities, we all arise from causes and conditions. So if we try to look for the self, we could not find it anywhere. And of course, if you can't remember like how to contemplate about it, you can go back to the Three Dharma Seals class, which we talk a little bit about contemplating about the self. Because the four foundation of mindfulness can help us in abandoning the four distorted view and realize the true nature of our self and all phenomena, the Buddha told us is the one-way path to purification and to nirvana. And of course, understanding the importance of this, it then begs the questions of what are the four foundation of mindfulness? And so now we'll look into what each of the mindfulness is. So for this class, I'll give a guided meditation after explaining about the mindfulness of the body and the mindfulness of feelings. Therefore, you can get a taste of what the practice is about. As for the mindfulness of the mind and the mindfulness of phenomena, it required ones to have certain level of concentration and focus before we can actually focus on the mind or the phenomena. Otherwise, we would notice that we're easily lost in our thoughts. So before I proceed, you can pause the video and prepare a meditation mat if you want. I'll also put this guided meditation in a separate folders so that you can access it in the future when you want to meditate or if you need the guided meditation. And of course, due to the limit of time, the instructions for the guided meditation will be simplified. Now let us look at the mindfulness of the body. The first foundation is the mindfulness of the body. In the mindfulness of the body, we work with the outer form of our physical existence, which include our breathing and our physical body. And of course, we also work with the inner form of our sense perceptions. Ultimately, we want to work with the innermost form, which is related to understanding of the body, lacking any intrinsic existence, meaning seeing the true realities of this body. When we work with the outer body of our physical existence, we try to bring our mind to realize and to understand what is this physical existence, which we call our body. We bring mindfulness to the physical level of our experience of the body through being mindful of our breathing and of our body. We're simply bringing mindfulness to the present experience of our body every single moment. We're not judging it, we're simply focusing on what this body actually is, not what we think it is. With the mindfulness of the body, we're simply being there with our body, with this physical sense of existence. We don't need to analyze it or approach it with too much philosophy. As the Buddha said, when you see, just see. When you smell, just smell. When you touch, simply touch. And when you feel, simply feel. When we're simply mindful of the outer body, we're training to see the most fundamental level of the presence of our body. The experience of the outer body will take us into the inner state of our physical existence, which is seeing the true nature of this body. Through the practice of simply being with our body, we can come to the inner experience of the physical self. This is the practice of the mindfulness of the inner form of the body. At this stage, we see the impermanent nature of each moment of our physical existence. Experiencing the impermanent nature of our body is the subtle experience of the mindfulness of the inner form of the body. And when we go in depth into mindfulness of the innermost body, we go beyond the simple experience of the physical presence of the body. We begin to examine the process through which we actually experience the body. We recognize that the way we experience the existence of our body is simply our perceptions, our reflections, or our projections. There is nothing solid beyond that. This is sort of like dreaming. When we're dreaming, just like in the waking state, we experience the world as real. Like all the phenomena are real, our body is real, and you can recall the dream that you have. I'm sure some of you might have a dream where you're being chased by someone or something. In the dream, as someone or something is chasing after us, we keep on running. At that moment, whether our body or the thing or people that chase us or the world around seem very real. They appear to exist. Yet in realities, they're just projections of our mind. This is the same for our present experience of the body. This is the mindfulness of the innermost body, through which we come to recognize the ultimate nature of our physical existence. So basically, from just looking at the mindfulness of the body, we can see that we start off with simply being there with our body to feel the body and to see what it is. And slowly we go into understanding the impermanence of this physical body. And from there, as we continue our practice, then would go into seeing the true realities of this body, which is not as real as we think it is. And so now, let us sit and simply be mindful of our body. And you can put down your pen, or you can like sit on your meditation mat, and we would have this short experience being mindful of your body. And so I would start on this guided meditation. Allow your body to find a very comfortable way to sit, whether you're sitting on a chair or whether you're sitting on a meditation mat. Let your posture be upright, but not uptight. So your body needs to be relaxed. If it feels okay for you, close your eyes and place your attention to the sensation of your breathing body. If you decide to keep the eyes open, allow your gaze to rest on the floor. Focus your attention to your breathing. Be mindful as you breathe in. You're aware of the full details of how you breathe in. And be mindful as you breathe out. Your attention is with your breath as you slowly breathe out. Take a few deep breaths. As you continue to become more aware of your breathing body, slowly bring your attention to the forehead. Feel the energy of your mind behind your eyes and at the temples. Let go of any tensions in the muscles on your face. Bring awareness to the hollow space of the mouth. See if you can release any tensions at your neck or your throat. As you send the breath down into the body, begin to pour your awareness down into your body. Slowly begin to move awareness across the top of your shoulders, releasing any tensions that you can be aware of. Let your awareness slowly move down into your bicep and elbows, down into your forearm and wrists, bring your awareness into your hands, feeling the sensation of all 10 fingers. If you begin to recognize that your mind wanders or that you become lost in your thoughts, plans, or memories, just take a short pause and bring your attention back to the sensation of your breathing body. As you continue to do this over and over again, see if you can also bring an attitude of kindness and friendliness toward yourself. If you find this to be challenging, you can offer yourself a simple phrase of, "May I be at ease." Now bring your attention back to the center of your body. Feel the sensations of the breath at your belly. Allow the belly to soften as you feel the rise and fall of your breathing. Allow your awareness to drop into the body by connecting with the experience of gravity. Feel the weight and pressure of your body, sitting on the chair or sitting on the meditation mats. Connecting your attention to the touch point of the sitting, breathing, and your body. Extend your awareness across the top of your thigh into the knee, down the front of your leg, feeling thin shin bone in the front, the muscles of the calf in the back. Finally, arriving down inside of your feet as they rest on top of the floor. Putting your full awareness into the left foot. And then bring your awareness to your right foot. Open your full awareness to all the sensation in your body, recognizing that there is a body, there is a body sitting, there is a body breathing. Allow your awareness to rest in the body. Just be watchful of the sensation. You don't need to judge it or discriminate it. As best you can, establishing present time, mindful awareness of the body. Returning back to the breath and the body, anytime you recognize that your mind has wandered. Now slowly take a deep breath in and breathe out. Without opening your eyes, you can slowly move your head to the side and rotate your shoulder forward and backward. When you're ready, you can rub your hand together to warm up your palms. Once your palms are warm up, you can cover your eyes with your palms and start to massage your eyes, your face, your head, your neck and shoulder, and down your body. Okay, when you're ready, then you can pick up your pen and paper and we'll continue with the class. So next, we're talking about mindfulness of feelings. In the Buddhist sense, feeling, or translated from the word Vedana, refer to the qualities of pleasantness, unpleasantness, and neutralities that arise with the contact of every moment's experience. Whenever there's a contact, there would be feelings. Our sixth sense organ would interact with their sense object, and the associate consciousness would arise. When the three of them meet, I should say, they would create this contact. So an example would be our eyes, like all of your eyes right now, are looking at this video. So that's the sense object for the eyes, and the eye consciousness would arise. So when our eyes seeing the video and the eye consciousness arise, all three together would create this contact. And of course, whenever there's a contact, feelings would arise. Feelings arise with both physical and mental phenomena. And so feelings arise when we hear a sound or when we think of something. So why is feeling important? Think about it. Feeling conditions our various reactions in our actions and our mind. When we're not mindful, pleasant feelings habitually conditions desires and clinging. Unpleasant feelings would conditions dislike and aversion, and neutral feelings conditions delusion or ignorance. On the other hand, if we're mindful, we have a choice. We can choose how we want to respond to the feelings. In this way, we can always practice the three acts of goodness: to do good deeds, say good word, and think good thoughts. It becomes the key to breaking this chain of sufferings. How do we start to abandon these habitual tendencies in response to feelings? And we start to do that with being mindfully aware of the feelings when they arise in the practice of mindfulness of feelings. As the Buddha said, when feeling unpleasant feelings, one knows I feel unpleasant feelings. When feeling an unpleasant feelings, one knows I feel an unpleasant feelings. When feeling a neutral feelings, one knows I feel a neutral feelings. We start with simple, direct, and clear recognitions of the feelings that arise. We don't need to analyze it, judge it, compare it, or understand why these feelings are happening. We should mindfully observe how that feelings arise and how it ceases. The practice of mindfulness of feelings leads us to a deeper and more direct insight into the impermanent nature of feelings as we see how feelings arise and disappear. The Buddha told us that feelings are like bubbles. If we see the transitory nature of whatever feelings arise, we become less identified with them, less attached to the present feelings, and less dislike the unpleasant one. How does mindfulness of feelings help us in our life? If we can recognize the feelings that arise when they arise, we can better manage our emotions. We won't react right away in response to our feelings and do or say things that we regret later. Also, if we can observe the impermanence of feelings, their linkage with craving and aversion will be weakened more and more until that bondage is finally broken. As the Buddha told us, whatever feeling one feels, whether pleasant, unpleasant, or neither pleasant nor unpleasant, one abides contemplating impermanence in those feelings, contemplating fading away, contemplating relinquishment, contemplating thus, one does not cling to anything in this world. When one does not cling, one is not agitated. When one is not agitated, one personally attained nirvana. So from what the Buddha said, we can realize that if we are mindful of our feelings, like we start off with being mindful of our feelings, we can slowly understand the true nature of feelings, which is not permanent. It is changing all the time. So it is not the self. And because of realizing this true nature of feelings, we'll slowly abandon them and let go of this clinging to them. And because of not clinging to them, we can attain nibbana. We can be free from our sufferings. And so this is the mindfulness of feelings. So now we're going to prepare it for the guided meditation for mindfulness of feelings. So again, you can put down your pen and paper and sit on a chair or your meditation mat, and we'll practice the mindfulness of feelings for a little bit right now, so that when you're practicing on your own, you will sort of know how to guide yourself in your meditation to be aware of your feelings. So when you're ready, sit in a very comfortable position. You can fold your leg, or you can just simply place your feet on the ground if you're sitting on a chair. And you can close your eyes. Start off with relaxing your body. So guide yourself in relaxing from your head to your shoulders to down your body. Relax your whole body. When your whole body is relaxed, you can focus your attention to your breathing. Be mindful as you breathe in, and be mindful as you breathe out. Take a few deep breaths on your own. If you have finished with your deep breathing, you can start to breathe naturally. So you do not try to control your breathing. Be very mindful as you breathe in, and mindful when you breathe out. When you notice your mind has wandered, as it always does, gently come back to your breathing. Now, shift your attention from your breath and ask yourself these questions. What am I feeling right now? What emotions are my feelings right here, right now? If you sat down for this meditation without any strong emotions, perhaps you're feeling contentment, or perhaps you're curious, or maybe there's another emotion inside, such as longing or yearning, or perhaps sadness or joy, worries, or perhaps a sense of stress, maybe loneliness, or maybe you're bursting with pride or feeling lost or envy. Maybe you're having a lot of feelings right now. try to identify the strongest feelings that you're having and give it a name quietly in the midst of your feelings. Let yourself become aware of the emotions in your mind. And when you have an emotion, label it and give it a name. Then repeat that name for 3 times in a kind and gentle voice. For example, worry, worry, worry. Joy, joy, joy. Just label the emotions. You don't need to judge it or discriminate it or compare it. Then you can return to your breathing. Feel your breath. And now go back and forth between your breath and your emotions in a relaxed way. When you feel the emotion, label it and then return to your breath. If you feel overwhelmed by the emotion or it's very disturbing, then just stay with your breath until you feel better. Breathe. Feel each breath and feel the loving kindness, the goodwill that's within you and has even inspired you to undertake this meditation. The wish to be happy and free from sufferings. Feeling that innate goodwill and breathe through your heart. And when the emotion arises or sweep away your attention, just label it and then return to your breath. Slowly take a deep breath in, and breathe out. Without opening your eyes, you can slowly move your head to the side and rotate your shoulder forward and backward. When you're ready, you can rub your hand together and warm up your palm. Then massage your eyes with your palms and your face, your head, and down your body. When you're ready, we will return back to the class. Now we will look at the mindfulness of the mind. The first question we have when we learn about the practice of mindfulness of the mind is, what does it mean to be mindful of the mind? In the Satipatthana Sutras, the Buddha said, "And how, monks, does a monk live contemplating consciousness in consciousness? Herein, monks, monks know the consciousness with lust, as with lust, the consciousness without lust, as without lust, the consciousness with hate, as with hate, the consciousness without hate, as without hate, the consciousness with ignorance, as with ignorance, the consciousness without ignorance, as without ignorance, the shrunken state of consciousness as the shrunken state, and the distracted state of consciousness as the distracted state." In the mindfulness of the mind, we work directly with the basic state of our mind or our consciousness. It is working with every single individual experience of our consciousness. In another word, we're developing the mindfulness of experiencing every individual movement of our mind, every moment of our consciousness. And we start off with simply watching our mind and bring it back to the present moment. If we take some time and observe our mind, we'll see that our mind is often dwelling in the past, thinking about, or dreaming about the futures. Like if we have very good past memory, then our mind would dwell in it and hope to relieve some of these good experiences. And of course, sometimes when we caught ourselves in bad memories, we live in regret or we live in these memories that make us miserable again and again. In addition to living in past memory, of course, our mind like to think about the future. We have a lot of plans, we have a lot of expectations, so we can think about for a long, long time. Practicing the mindfulness of the mind will help us bring our mind back to the present moment and free our mind from the imprisonment of dwelling in the past and anticipation of the future. We're living in the present when we're mindful of the present state of mind. Thus, through mindfulness of the mind, we're able to experience simply living in the present, to really experience living without coloring it with our memories, concepts, philosophies, or expectation. It is simply being there and simply letting it be whatever it is. How do we start to practice the mindfulness of the mind? Through meditation, we first train our mind to recognize the arising of our thoughts and emotions. We have to be clear about it and acknowledge all the thoughts and emotions that arise. Like the analogy before, we need to be cleared about the guests who are ringing our doorbell. We have to recognize them. If anger arises, we recognize it. The present moment is actually very small and tiny. So there is a new anger in every present moment. Thus, we have to recognize it again and again and again. We recognize our anger every moment, just like we recognize a new guest when he or she ring the doorbell. After recognizing the thoughts and emotion, we let them be themselves. If we recognize anger, we just simply let the anger be anger. And then we have to let it go and allow it to be in its own state. When we recognize these thoughts and emotions, we're actually slowing them down. We're creating more space between ourselves and these thoughts, between ourselves and these emotions. We're not bounded by our thoughts and emotions. In this way, we can begin to see the momentary nature of our consciousness, of our thoughts, and of our emotions. Thoughts change every moment. Emotion change every moment. Perception change every moment. And conception change every moment. This is like running river. So if you look at the image, it's like running river. The water in the river doesn't remain in the same place for any moment. The river continues and moves. This is the same with our mind. We have to mindfully observe the movement of our mind, and it will show us the impermanence of the mind. Through the mindfulness of the mind and this contemplation, we can slowly reverse our thoughts of permanence and our thoughts of permanence in relations to this mind. And of course, if we continue with our practice, we'll realize the true nature of our consciousness and of this mind, and we won't cling to this so-called self or think that our mind is the self. And last, we'll look at the mindfulness of phenomena. When we look at the mindfulness of phenomena, the first question we probably have is, what is this phenomena refer to? So phenomena includes all the thoughts and mental qualities in our mind, as well as the world that is around us. Not only does it include our body, our feelings, and the mind, it also refers to the six sense objects of form, sound, smells, taste, touch, and concept. All these objects can be contemplated and analyzed. Mindfulness of phenomena is when we have complete awareness on the simple present nature of phenomena. It is having the insight to relate with the phenomenal world outside more directly without any feared conceptions or philosophical theories. It's about relating to the most fundamental state of phenomena. It is working with the relationship of each individual phenomenon existing around us as the object of our experience. And to practice this mindfulness, we take the object of our sensory perception as the object of our meditation. So we choose one of them, whether it's a sight or a sound or a taste or a smell and so on. So we take one of them and analyze them by simply being present with that particular object in the present moment of its existence. When we see, hear, smell, taste, or touch an object, we pay attention to the phenomena with mindfulness and awareness. We don't need to conceptualize our experience with the phenomena. We just need to be fully present and fully experience the object. When we examine the phenomena, we see that they can be classified to afflicted phenomena and pure phenomena. Afflicted phenomena are all those objects that cause and increase afflictions in our mind. Pure phenomena refer to the object that leads to liberation, such as the teachings for this path to enlightenment. For mindfulness of phenomena, we want to abandon and relinquish the afflicted phenomena and rely on the pure one to get rid of the afflicted one. The ultimate goal or ultimate focus of mindfulness practice is to realize the impermanence, not self, nature of all phenomena. It will bring us to a full understanding of the true nature of the interdependent origination of the phenomenon world. We experience the world as it is without conceptualizing it or labeling it. And to conclude this class, we want to practice the 4 foundations of mindfulness, which is mindfulness of the body, mindfulness of feelings, mindfulness of the mind, and mindfulness of phenomena. In order to understand and realize the true nature of these 4 objects, and when we can realize the true nature of these 4 objects, whether it's the body, feelings, mind, and phenomena, we'll realize the impermanent and not self nature of them. Ultimately, of course, this one-way path will lead us to the attainment of nirvana, and of course, ultimate freedom from all sufferings. And last, I do want to encourage all of you to try it for yourself, to try out the meditation practice and see it for yourself. Thank you very much for listening to this class. Please take care and stay safe. 弥陀佛。